Hello lovelies, it's Miss Lady Lace here, and today I have for you the next fabulous edition of my pinup posing series. In this posing video, I'm going to be sharing 5 classic pinup poses which are actually inspired by actresses and pinups from the 1940s and 50s. If you're new to my channel, this is a regular blog that I feature teaching you how to pose like a pinup girl. In previous videos, I've looked at facial expressions, arm lines, and the classic pinup pose. If you're competing, taking part in a photo shoot, or just wanting to improve your pinup poses, the best way to do this is simply to practice. It's also a great idea to draw inspiration from classic pinups and try and emulate poses that were actually done during the golden age of glamour. I really love Pinterest. I create little boards for myself with inspiration for photo shoots and performances. If I really want to create a specific look or even a really specific pose, I'll save images of what I'm trying to create and then I'll practice emulating that in a mirror until I feel confident to do that in the shoot. So let's get started with our poses for today. Pose number 1 is the classic pinup pose. I do already have a video online breaking this down quite thoroughly, but it's such a fundamental pose and it's important to master. If you watch any vintage film, when you see an actress walk onto a stage, pose on the side, or anything like that, you'll quite likely see them hit this classic pinup pose. To create this pose, we stand upright, choose a leg to be our supporting leg, which we slightly turn out. We then bend the other leg in and hug our knee and our ankle together. There are many variations on this leg line, but this is the absolute basic. We then pop our hands onto our hips or our waist depending on our outfit. We ensure our shoulders are nice and relaxed down and that our elbows aren't too far forward or too far back. We then want to imagine someone's grabbing us by our victory roll and pulling us up as tall as we possibly can be, and we have our classic pinup pose. Pose number 2, we have Marilyn Monroe for our inspiration. It's a super cute and cheeky pose which would look fabulous on stage and in a shoot. To create this pose, we're going to face our body in one direction. We're going to take our back arm and place our hand under our chin, highlighting that area. And to create a more classic line, we're then going to pop our opposite arm onto our hip to highlight that. With all our pinup poses, we want to keep good postural alignment and try and highlight our best features. Pose number 3, we have Rita Hayworth as our inspiration. This is a shot of her dancing, but we can very much create a variation to create a beautiful vintage pose. Starting in our classic pinup pose, with our non-supporting leg that's beveled in front of the supporting leg, we're going to take that out to the side and extend that. Again, making sure we're keeping strong posture. We'll then bring one arm up into the air and the other off to the side. This again is one of those poses we want to very much keep our shoulders nice and relaxed down. With our leg that's off to the side, we want to make sure we keep our foot nice and pointed as well, so we don't create an unpleasant line with our leg. For pose number 4, we're taking inspiration from the pinup queen Bettie Page. This is a truly classic floor pose and looks fabulous in lingerie or swimwear. We're going to step down onto the ground, and rather than facing directly at the camera, which would get a bit of an open crotch shot, we're going to take our legs and angle them off into one direction. Our knees are going to be quite wide apart, and we're going to ensure that we keep our bottom off the ground, so we're kind of hovering in the air, which is quite a workout. We're going to make sure our back is nice and arched. We're going to place our hands onto our thighs and make our hands nice and arched. And again, just making sure those shoulders are nice and relaxed for a beautiful pose. For pose number 5, we're taking inspiration from Jane Russell. Here you can see her mid-movement, but she is about to strike the classic S pose. This is essentially when one hand is behind our head and the other is on our hip, creating that S look. This pose can be done sitting, standing, or perching upon something like in this photo. But today we're going to strike our classic standing pinup pose. We're going to keep one hand on our hip and take the other behind our head. Now there's a few key important aspects to getting this pose looking fabulous. Firstly, we want to ensure that the arm behind our head is not one angled at the camera. When we do this, we create a very underarm forward look. And this is not the best line just because it does sort of make this area seem like the biggest, while if we angle it back, it creates a much more highlighted line for our face and hides all the things we don't want to be seen. The next thing we want to avoid is, unless we're doing something like moving into the position, grabbing a bit of hair, we want to make sure we put our hand completely behind our head. When we take the line here or here, it kind of looks like we're trying to touch our face. It looks like we maybe can't hear. So you really want to grab the back of your head so that's nice and out of the way, and you've struck a beautiful pose. These have been our 5 classic pinup poses. There are so many other that you can emulate too, but I thought I'd start with a few basics that you can practice at home. The best way you can become better at posing as a pinup girl is actually by practicing either in front of a mirror, in your photo shoots, or practicing in the selfies you take yourself. I'm quite often asked how I carry myself quite elegantly or how I pose so naturally, and it's purely just because I've been doing it for so long. With a bit of time and effort, you'll be posing like a pinup professional too. Above all, don't be afraid to be creative, unique, and yourself. Just because a pose isn't classic or you've created something completely new doesn't mean that it doesn't fit within the pinup genre. At the end of the day, you do you. I do hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more of the pinup posing series, be sure to watch the videos I do have online now, and let me know if there's any others you'd like to see too. To follow my daily pinup adventures, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'll pop a little link here as well as at the end of the video. I post super regularly to Instagram because I'm completely addicted, and if you'd like to never miss out on one of these videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button below, and I'll be seeing you all real soon.